Here.
Councilman Sanders. Councilman Sanders.
Here telephonically.
Councilman Stegman.
Here.
Council President Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Noe.
Here. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence tonight. Our moment of silence will be in honor of your favorite elementary school teacher. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I couldn't remember who it was.
Mine was Mrs. White, who always said, what did she say? She said, "You can't learn anything when you're talking."
Well, that's me out.
Yeah. All right. Our first order of business this evening is to approve the minutes, meeting minutes from January 20th, open session, February 1st, 2022, open session, and our closed session on February 1, 2022. So the council had a chance to look at the minutes. And were there any questions about them? If not, would somebody make a motion, please, to approve the minutes? Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. We'll move on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening is a series of resolutions on the consent agenda are considered routine and shall be enacted by one motion. Should any member of the City Council seek separate discussion of any item, that item shall be removed and discussed separately. So are there any questions about the consent agenda that would necessitate that action?
I did. No.
Just so you know, we do have a replacement for the resolution number 45. EMAA had their own resolution, so you have it right in front of you. I printed a hard copy for you. It's just a little bit mildly different language, same amount for $10,000.
Any questions?
Just are all of these consent?
No.
Which ones are the consent ones?
Goes up to where it says resolutions others, so it would be resolution number 41, 2022 through 51, 2022.
So actually, a question, Cindy. So the resolution to award or reject a contract for the art, we need to just, that would be if we vote to approve the resolutions, we're voting to approve that one as well, right?
The resolution to authorize which one?
The contract for the Arnett Avenue stormwater.
Yes, that's on the consent agenda, yes.
Okay. Any questions? No? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you.
I do have one question,
Yeah,
just on one of them. I mean, I approve it.
okay.
The money that we have awarded to Fletcher, Kramer and Son, do we put in FEMA for that?
Yes, yes, and it's 75% eligible
Okay.
of what they deem eligible in the list.
So eventually we'll get,
Yes, we will. And we've been actually working with FEMA on that.
okay, cool, thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next resolution is resolution number 52-2022, a resolution to authorize the correction in the 2021 budget for 21 employees who were underpaid due to an issue with Edmunds. Calculated salaries for a 27 payroll and employees were paid for a 26 payroll in the amount of $47,621.37. So this was just a mathematical error that was discovered when the deputy treasurer was doing a year-end audit of the payroll, and the source of the problem comes from a 27-year pay period because of the prior year being a leap year, so it was just a sort of a snafu in the system. So after speaking with Edmunds, it was determined that the standard hour maintenance screen did not globally edit it at the beginning of 2021, which would have changed all the hour maintenance screens to 26. So the error was corrected, and everything's been taken care of. 21 employees that were underpaid because of the error were all given an explanation letter with their 2021 W-2s. There have been no questions or comments from any of the employees, so it's a fairly well, it's a significant error, but it wasn't a big deal in the end. So the total shortage equals $47,621, and that's all been taken care of. We've been able to kind of go back into 2021, and so there will be no effect on the 2022 budget.
When you mentioned 27, I think you said 27 year.
27 week.
27.
Thank you for that.
27 payroll period.
Right, they were,
Payroll periods.
instead of being paid 1/26th of the salary, they were paid 1/27th. So they were paid less, and that's where the 26/27 is. And I talked to Sue just a minute ago, and this is a problem with, there's this global, what did you just call it?
The global,
Update, yeah, year-end thing that it's, Edmunds would probably call it a feature. But it's a bug, where it doesn't correctly roll over for leap year. So Sue's got it in her SOPs to look at this, to redress this every 4 years for leap year.
Good. Any other questions about it? If not, would somebody make a motion, please?
So moved.
Would someone second it?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next resolution, 53-2022, is going to be carried to the March 17th session, as the purchaser did not provide adequate notice in the newspaper. So this will be carried until the second March meeting. Now we have the bills list. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the bills list. Does everybody have a chance to look at the bills list? And
So moved.
okay,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ward?
Sorry, I'm still on mute. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Tonight we have a first reading of an ordinance number 02-2022. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-4, to amend the hours for the street sweeper to be consistent throughout the city. This is basically just a housekeeping item. The ordinance has got some inconsistencies in it. There's a whole section of town that has a 1 hour street cleaning window, and at the request of the DPW and with some support from the police department, we're asking to expand that to 2 hours, which is consistent, which would make it consistent throughout the city, which would allow the DPW a little extra time in that neighborhood to make sure that everything is cleaned and that the police car comes, that we've basically got enough time. So I don't know if there are any questions from the council on this.
So we're making everything 8 to 10?
Correct.
Okay, so what's all this stuff that, this is the old, this is
Yes.
current? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to see what it currently said.
Okay.
And the ones that are crossed out are ones that we don't do.
Yeah.
So we crossed them out so that they will be removed from the ordinance.
Although for those residents on Quarry Street, the DPW director says he does do a pass by Quarry Street when he can.
That's all right, there's nowhere for us to park on the other side anyway.
Well, I had a question about the, I didn't know that Stutterford and Swan Street were even on the list to do. And so now we're officially removing Stutterford, Swan Street, and South Franklin. And my concern is due to the amount of runoff we're dealing with, the sweeper's role, actually, one role is to keep the catch basin clean, no leaves on the catch basin. And if it wasn't for some residents that live on Stutterford Street, that would not be done. So I think we should readdress doing those three, those three areas, and they do have curbs and they have drainage on them.
They do have drainage. I'm not sure if all of them have curbing, like Lincoln Street. It's
No,
Lincoln
no, I'm
Street.
just talking about those other.
Lincoln has curbing on one side.
No, that's
on the-
Lincoln
on the
Street,
north
not
side.
Lincoln.
Yeah, but there's no Lincoln Street, is there?
Not that I could find.
No,
Oh.
there's Lincoln Avenue.
Right, that's
Oh,
what
I
I
thought
thought they
it was up
had.
on-
And it's on the north side
Yeah.
of the street. There are curves. At least on my block.
So your request is to keep Stutterford and,
I would think,
Well, Stutterford's still on the list, it's not crossed out.
on Friday, we left it on Friday, but that could be my fault for not crossing it out.
But is it the
No,
street
it's-
sweeper
you're right.
really that you're concerned about?
yeah,
Or is it the process of making sure that those catch basins are clear of debris?
yes, it's the latter of the two.
I mean, why were we removing these, just because we don't normally do them, or is it difficult for the sweeper to function on those particular streets, or what is it?
To be honest with you, Lester said he never did them,
Okay,
and so that's why we were. And you know, we have one street sweeper, it really does become a timing issue. If you're doing on Friday, you're gonna do Stutterford, South Franklin Quarry, you're going to add those to North Franklin Union. I don't know timing wise if that's even something that could be done.
It was timing, at least with the old times that we had,
Yeah,
even when the leaves were out, we weren't getting it completed, it was about a half hour short of even when, because we have to go much slower with the leaves,
Right.
so,
Yeah, I've never seen the street sweeper up
Oh, I
on
haven't
Cottage
either.
Hill.
My
There's no signage saying,
right.
and there's no, on
Don't
Stutterford,
park
we
on
don't park
these
cars in
days.
Stutterford, so the sweeper, if he does have time, can run it after the fact, because there's no cars parked on Stutterford Street, right? So the time
Yeah, I know,
constraint, you know,
Yeah.
if we have to do, we can remind and get it done if it needs to be done. If
So
that
it
makes-
could be a seasonal type thing, because a while ago, when we were fully staffed, I would see them on Music Mountain. It's been several years though, and they would try to at least do it, you know, occasionally, seasonal, through the beginning and the end of summer. So what is your pleasure?
I would rather see, if we're gonna maintain just because of what happened, it's not the first time, you know, idle was one thing, but on a regular basis, those catch basins, you know, are very, you know, that's the way to, you know, out Swan Street. And
So you were saying Stutterford, Swan, and you said three, but I didn't catch the
I think
third.
the South, I don't know if South Franklin's realistic, yet we have to see if that is or isn't. Because cars would have to move from one side off to the side, and if that's the side, you know, that may be, but we can certainly,
Well, yeah, and there's no signs on South
Right.
Franklin, right? So,
yeah, there were never
There's
any
no
signs.
signs on any of those streets that Steve was talking, that Councilman Stegman's.
No, there were never, no.
No, no.
But- And if I saw that we were taking them off, I probably
Well,
wouldn't.
Stutterford Street, hardly anyone parks on that. I mean, you're removing Lincoln, but Swan Street, people regularly park on it. And the same is true for South Franklin. And we don't have signage.
Well, the lower part of Swan is no parking on one side, but that's the,
But
and there's
that's
a
been
catch basin.
routinely ignored.
Listen, if Public Works wants to ride by before, it's gonna be like a storm like tonight we're getting, and make sure that the catch basins are clear of leaves, I'm fine with it.
But the side that it says no parking has no curb.
Well, the sign that says no parking has a trough on it too, going down the
so
hill.
it sounds like we need to actually figure out how many catch basins we're talking about and what the deal is, so maybe we need to, hold off on this until we can figure out what we actually want to ask of the Public Works.
okay.
Well, if we introduce it tonight, can we, you know, is that a major change?
You have to decide tonight, because we have to advertise it and then post the ordinance so that people know when, you know, when we have the public hearing, whether they're, you know, give them an opportunity to come out and speak about it, in favor or against.
Mhm.
Well, so- And if it's in the ordinance, I mean, that would suggest that we would need to properly, that we should sign it, right?
Right.
That we should sign these streets, that we should go to, and now we've created, we have actually created an expectation that we're gonna start doing these streets with a reduced department at the moment, and a mercurial street sweeper. So
It is a hill, I don't know if that little thing will make it up.
Well, that.
Well, if you want to,
that's true.
if you want to introduce this and leave it what it is, and then look at it for next year, I'm fine with that, seeing that was never done. But that might be part of what we're gonna do for stormwater management, to expand once we figure out what, how to
Yeah, I
hold
mean-
water back, so I'm fine with introducing it.
Ultimately, if this is a question of catch basins, this can be, the catch basins can be, I think, dealt with more regularly
Yeah.
as a part of maintenance.
Yeah, there is no the streets are clean. It's the only reason I brought it up was because of the leaves. That's all. So I'm fine with it the way it's being presented.
Cindy, people usually call when they have leaves to be picked up, right? And then we schedule a time for their leaf pickup.
We do it in two ways. We open Public Works for 2 Saturdays and then 2 Wednesdays of every month. And that will start again in the spring, so people can drop them off. Or if they have 4 or more big bags, they can call, and Public Works does cycle through to pick them up.
Okay.
And we ask them to call because, especially in the downtown area where you have cars that may park in front and you might not be able to see the bags, it gives them an idea of where to look.
Right.
Okay.
Right, so, sounds like everybody's okay with moving this forward at the moment. So is there a motion available to pass on first reading this ordinance?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Ward. All right, thank you.
Mayor, it was a little hard to jump in there. If we do proceed to adopt this, I would ask that we undertake some effort to notify, folks may get used to the 1 hour, and we'll get a lot of complaints if there's a new rash of tickets. So I think some effort to publicize this should we move towards a full adoption. And maybe even a 1 week forbearance like we do when it starts up. Just to let folks know, we don't have to decide that tonight, but I just want to try to avoid surprises for people.
No, understood, and I had sort of committed to myself that I would write a letter and just drop it off at people's houses in the neighborhood on my way to and from work, since it's mostly in my neighborhood. So I'll hand deliver letters to everybody's house as well in advance.
That's great.
And then, there'll be a grace. There's always a grace period for the first run around, and the signs will be changed. So I think we'll give people enough notice, and we'll certainly put it on the website, and I'll mention it in Lambertville Matters and so forth. But I think that's a good point. So thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Yep.
You're welcome. Let's see. Just to let everybody know, the public hearing on this ordinance will be March 17th, 2022. Now, number 9, we have an ordinance, second reading, public hearing. This ordinance is number 01-2022, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a lease agreement between the City of Lambertville and Richard Crane for the use of the Lily Street apartment property owned by the city and located at 6 Lily Street, block 1074, lot 2. So, at this time, I'd like to open should I open the public hearing first and then?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to open the public hearing for ordinance number 01-2022 and ask for any comments or questions as well from the governing body. Any questions on this? We talked about this last time.
The only question I think I have is, have we gone through there and made sure everything is up to, that the apartment itself is okay?
Yes, we actually, because of the change in funding mechanism, you have to have inspectors come in, so we had the electric checked, the plumbing checked, And I think we spent like $1,700 in doing some minor repairs.
Okay.
Are there any other comments from the council? No? Do we have any comments from the public on this matter? Anything online?
No.
Thank you. So I need a motion to close the public comment period, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And now I'd like to ask for motion to adopt on second reading, granting final approval of ordinance number 01-2022.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you very much. All right, now we're on to discussion items, cannabis applications, and we have the city planner, Emily Goldman, here to give us a little bit of information about kind of cannabis here in the city. What's happening?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, as council may recall, last summer, or actually last spring, council originally introduced an ordinance to do the temporary kind of prohibition ban, which most of the municipalities in the state did. After introduction, a lot of the residents were upset about that and really wanted cannabis, the recreational cannabis in the city. So Councilman Sanders kind of spearheaded and took the lead on working with the community on identifying what types of cannabis we would allow, where would we allow it, things like that. I think they had maybe 3 or 4 public meetings. There was meetings, it was discussed at council meetings and at the planning board. Ultimately, the city adopted an ordinance in August that permitted 4 cannabis retailer facilities within the city, 2 in the central business district, 1 in the C2 zone, 1 in the C3 zone. None of the retail uses at this point permit any consumption on site. We now have 3 applications that have been submitted since that ordinance was adopted. Micro business application for Church Street. So a micro business, they have to be 2,500 square feet or less. They're limited to selling 1,000 pounds a month, and there's requirements on the number of, on the percentage of New Jersey residents that are owners, as well as people that live within the community that either work there or are involved in the organization. There's another application in the former River Horse Brewery site, and then an application in the Spokesworks building, which is where Dig Yoga is. The planning board has 2 of the applications scheduled for next Wednesday, the 23rd. The Church Street application, as well as the River Horse Brewery site application. The Spokesworks building application will be heard on March 2nd. And there's kind of a time crunch to review these. The state application is due March 15th. In order for applicants to apply, they need to, from the city, receive a zoning determination from the zoning officer, which states that it's actually a permitted use in the zone that they're applying. They need to get planning board approval that reviews the full application, if there's site changes, anything like that. And then they actually need council approval. All of these approvals that both the board and council approval would be conditioned on them actually obtaining state license approval.
So,
I'm sorry, I was going to say, but they're not guaranteed a license approval based, even with all this information.
Right, yeah, you know, the state has a limited number of licenses, I believe, that they're releasing for this first round. You know, we're not the only municipality in the state that is actually allowing cannabis, so, you know, there's no guarantee that any or all 3 of them will get state licenses.
Do we have any idea of how many licenses the state is expecting to grant this round?
I don't know, Bill, do you?
No, it's not my head, no.
That's a big secret, right?
It's not a big secret. I think it's posted somewhere, and
There
it's
is.
less than you would think.
I'm sure, yeah, I was just wondering kind of, you know, if you have any idea, you said most municipalities chose to put a temporary ban.
Yeah.
Does that put cities such as ours at a little bit of an advantage there or not?
I mean, it's a smaller pot of municipalities that are actually allowing it, but the state regulations do kind of, I forget the exact terminology that they use, but there's some municipalities that have priorities over it that have more, I don't know if it's underserved communities, but, you know, there's some municipalities that are prioritized to get
Communities
licenses.
that have been more harmed by making cannabis illegal in the past, basically.
More harmed by,
Making cannabis illegal in the past,
okay.
in very crude layman's terms.
Mhm.
There are other questions?
Yeah, I mean, just, thank you, Emily, it's helpful. I wanted everybody to be aware, because this sort of feels quick to some people. I've heard from some members of the public, so this, just so everyone understands, if and when we approve this, if those licenses are granted to these businesses, they will then be allowed to open up. So this is we say yes, if they get a license, they open up. If they don't get a license, they don't get to open up. But this isn't like yet another, this is the penultimate step, and the state license is the final step.
Yeah, I think it's a point well worth making again, and I think that Lambertville has really led the way. And Councilman Sanders, again, I have to say thank you to you for your work over the summer, and we've got some residents here who also were very instrumental in bringing the public into the conversation and making sure that that ordinance was written to the best possible specifications to suit our city. So this is, may feel new to a lot of people, but I think, and you know, it's less than a year old, I think, in terms of process, but it's all been done with great care and diligence, and the application process for the businesses here in the city it's pretty rigorous, I have found, and you know, I feel like the public should rest assured that anybody who does actually get a license will have gone through every possible step. It's an impressive amount of work, let's just say that, so. I was just gonna ask if there were other questions.
I
so
do have
please.
questions. So assuming we approve these applications, but the applicants do not get a state license, do we have to kick it back to the beginning of the process? Can they resubmit for the next round of state licensing based on the approval that we've already given? Like, you know, kind of what's that clock look like?
That's a good question.
Bill, do you want to handle?
Can you repeat the question? I was looking.
So the question is, if we approved these applications, at the municipal level, but the state does not grant licenses to the applicants that we've approved, what's the next step? It's really a question I would think that an applicant would want to know the answer to. What's the next step for them? Do they have to come back to us? Does our approval carry to the, is our approval kind of in hand and they can just take it and move, or do they have to come back to us?
I think there's gonna be another licensing round after this first round.
Right.
So, you know, based on the way the ordinance is written, I think in order to submit, if the applicant is denied and they want to submit a new application to the state, they first have to get another approval from the governing body as
So
part
the
of that
whole,
application.
they start the clock back at the municipal level
Yes.
again, okay?
I don't know if they would need to get the zoning determination and the board approval again necessarily. I think the board approval, preliminary final site plan, it has a tolling period on it. Preliminary site plans, it's, I think they're granted one year extensions for 3 years, and then final site plans, 1-year extensions.
Well, I think we really need to, I mean, you and I talked a little bit about this. I think this is an important question that I don't think we're gonna be able to answer tonight, but we have to understand it because there may be other businesses that come in. And so I don't believe that the intention is that municipalities essentially hold a spot for a business until they can get a license.
Okay.
And then we may find ourselves, right now, luckily, we don't have more than 4 businesses to choose from, but we may find ourselves in what I would consider an awkward position in the future, where we have more than the allowable number. And
Right,
what do we do about
would
that?
have 8 or 10.
Right, so we're not there yet, but these are really
Right.
critical questions that we need to know in case our
Right.
businesses don't get licenses this time.
Right, I think we need to talk through what this process is going to be at our level, because we have to understand what we're approving and what it means, and I think applicants would want to know what that's going to mean for them as well, yeah.
I'm sorry, I think it's also going to be important to see what the state approval process looks like. This is the first time they're going through it. Are they going to issue, where they deny applications, are they going to issue reasons why they're denying? And give the applicants some idea of what their application may need to improve on for future applications. That's going to be important to see how the Cannabis Regulatory Commission at the state level proceeds with their process too. And I think that'll guide how the governing body proceeds with future municipal applications. And just to Emily's point, there's 37 cultivation licenses that they've capped at. They have not released the number for retail.
I'm sorry, the
Yeah, I was going to.
For cultivation licenses, which Lambertville has banned, we only have retail, and they haven't released the number. As far as I know, as of last Monday, they haven't released the number.
Oh, they haven't released a number of retail, okay.
Councilman Sanders?
Yeah, I was just going to say what Bill said, which is that the only cap I'm aware of is on cultivation, and it's capped at 37. And the March 15th is, as I understand it, the beginning of a rolling process. That's when applications will be accepted. So anyway, there's a really good, it's very comprehensive, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is the licensing entity at the state level, has a sort of a guide to this on its website. So I think a lot of these questions, I don't know the answers to some of these, but I think a lot of these questions may already be answered in their notice of application document that's out there. We can take a look. If folks have questions, I'm happy to do some legwork to try to look through this and work with Bill on it.
So do we have any indication as to whether or not the licensing process, the state licensing process, is going to be focused on a particular class or classes, or is it going to look at all classes? Do we know that at this point?
I mean, my understanding, and folks can correct me if I'm wrong, but is that they give certain priorities. There's an evaluation process. They call it an application priority, I think. So there's certain things that they're going to prioritize as they review these applications. And so they're going to be scoring it based on this priority schedule that they developed.
Do we know what the prioritization?
Yeah, they're looking at,
criteria are?
yeah, I mean, it's outlined in law and their rules. They're looking at social equity, the diversity, the ownership model. There's a preference for micro businesses. There's impact zone businesses, I think, were in there. I mean, it is outlined in the state. I'm not sure it's in the statute too, but it's clearly outlined in the CRC's application document.
Okay.
I have a question for Ward. Ward, has anyone given or attempted to give a time frame when the licenses will be issued? I mean, do they have a schedule when they plan on issuing licenses? I understand that there was a deadline that was missed by the commission on the 22nd. And I don't know if that just pushes everything back.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if there's a time frame in the law, but it is not uncommon for regulatory agencies to sometimes blow by those deadlines based on resources and other factors.
It doesn't, and part of the regulatory process is they have to print, when they introduce it, they have to, I mean, there's a whole nother step that the process goes through before it goes into law, correct? It's gotta be posted in the record, it's got, you know, it's not like it happens the next day. Is that right, Ward?
You're saying after the state makes a licensure determination, you're saying?
No, I'm just talking about what, you know, there's also a period of time, and Emily could probably comment on this much
Are you
better.
asking more about the state regulations?
Yes,
Yeah, state regulations generally, once they're introduced, they're noticed in the New Jersey Register. There's a comment period that's identified, and then after that comment period's up.
right, so it's not as,
I-
there's a whole,
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think this agency has ability to bypass regular APA rulemaking procedures, though. I think they had some expedited process that was written into their law, if I remember correctly.
oh, okay. Well, I think that, you know, I think people are, and I feel for the applicants who in some cases are paying rent now and they might not get a license for 6 months or a year, and where does that put us about in the process of other people wanting to apply, because everyone's just gonna have to wait, basically, until licenses are issued. So it's gonna be, tonight is the beginning, or is a continuation of the first step that the municipality can do, but there's a whole other level of approvals that folks have to get. I have no idea, and I haven't heard, even anecdotally, how long this process is gonna take, so.
In the regulations, it just lays out the rolling application process, and there's a period, after the regulatory commission approves, there is a period that they send the license to the municipality has to confirm, whether or not or I guess reconfirm, whether or not the business is allowed pursuant and the business complies with the ordinance. That time period's 28 days after the commission issues the license, but there's nothing that I'm seeing that says that, you know, once an application's submitted, there's X number of days for the commission to make a decision.
And just so council's aware, the 3 applications we do have, 2 are in the central business district, 1's in the C3 district. So if all 3 of these are initially approved by the city, approved by the state, that leaves the 1 license available in the C2 district.
I have a couple more questions. So we have 3 applicants on our discussion list for tonight. One says application is pending submission, so we don't have the documentation on that yet, correct?
We're not taking any action tonight. This is.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was,
That's my second question.
from our development review committee, there was some minor things that weren't submitted at the date of our development review committee meeting.
Okay,
So we gave them until tomorrow, it was actually their deadline. So we said they can notice at their own risk for the 23rd, but we needed to get the outstanding information by tomorrow.
okay. So obviously, we're not taking any action tonight, we're just discussing this. What's the timeline, the anticipated timeline for action by the governing body?
So if, I don't know if you want me to field this, if you want to field this.
Yeah, let me answer it,
Okay.
since I know the answer.
Okay.
So the 2 applications before the planning board on the 23rd, if those applications are deemed complete and passed by the planning board, will be eligible for consideration by the council when we next meet. And our next council meeting is on March 1st. And the remaining applicant, which will appear before the planning board on March 2nd, if their application passes the planning board, this is why we're having a special meeting
Right.
to then pass a resolution in support of that business, which is Union Chill.
So planning board first, then governing body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of for all of the applications, they get the zoning determination that it's permitted use in the zone, then it goes to the board and then council.
Okay. So we're trying to hit this, is it March 17th deadline? or
March
March 15th deadline for the state, to receive their applications from the applicants to be considered for a state license.
Yep.
And then if they get their state license, then they're throwing their doors open. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Anything else? Emily, thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks.
We have public comment?
Not on this.
Okay.
No, we'll have public comments in a little bit. This is
Okay,
just-
people have their hands up.
Okay, Mike, how many people do we have, by the way? I didn't ask earlier.
We have 16.
16. Somebody make a note of that, please. The next order of business is, I'd like to make a nomination of Gino Velez to serve on the Lambertville Free Public Library Board. This will be to an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2025. This is replacing Rosemary King. So send some information out to the council on this. I don't know if there are any follow-up questions about Mr. Velez serving on the Lambertville Free Public Library Board. Any questions on this? If not, I'd like to ask someone to make a motion to confirm my nomination of Gino Velez to serve on the library board.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 None opposed. Thank you. Moving on to correspondence. A couple of things here. The Greater Lambertville Chamber of Commerce has a request for road closures, public works, and police coverage for the annual Shad Festival being held on April 29th and 30th in the Central Business District.
And the dates are incorrect.
They-
We did not receive the letter from the chamber, but I did put, they sent back that memorandum of understanding, and I believe Lieutenant Brown met with them today.
It's the 24th
23rd,
and
24th.
24th
Yeah.
and the 25th, sorry about that.
23rd and 24th.
I looked at the last weekend and put it in because I had nothing from them. They did send a memorandum of understanding, which you have in front of you.
Mhm.
They said there were some minor changes.
That's correct, and moving forward, they're not sure if they're going to utilize some of the street closures, which include York Street this year. That was something new that they're looking to do. I made some recommendations of, there's some concerns that I have about closing down York Street, which affects in the residential neighborhood. So I'm trying to work with them to utilize some of the other spaces that we have or that's available that they might be able to use. So, but in the worst case scenario, if we can't work that out, they added that York Street closure into their request.
They will add it? I don't see it listed here. Is it not here?
It
Do
says
you have the
York Street
memorandum
on
of
the-
understanding right in front of you, ma'am?
I do.
Okay, so that, I did not get, they actually sent that just before I left the office. I just briefly scanned it.
I think I gave you the wrong dates. I think it's the 23rd and the 24th.
23rd,
Yeah,
24th.
yeah, that's what she was just saying.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, there it is, York from Union to George, okay,
Yep.
sorry.
And that would also include additional road closures on North Union Street from York to Delavan. We'll also have to make the changes to making Delavan one way, coming from Union Street to allow the through traffic coming from coming south on Union Street. So we're trying to lessen the impact for the Shad Fest. So we're going to see what we can do about working with them about, so we don't have to do that, if we don't have to do the additional road closures.
Do you understand, or maybe I'm just misremembering, but suspended parking on Main Street from York to Ferry?
It's, it is, yeah, that's,
Yeah, because that's the vendor parking area. If they're utilizing Church Street, which they have done in the past, like going up, I want to say 2 or 3 parking spaces for vendors on Church Street, that puts the vendors parking now out on Main Street. So yes, we've always closed it down, and if they don't have a lot of vendors, or as many as they normally do, at that time, we'll remove the no parking signs, so parking can be available on Main Street. So I guess we'll see how the day goes, if they have enough vendors. If there's vendors that have to park there, they're closed off, but if not, we remove the no parking signs at that day.
do you know if the chamber has, and I didn't read the whole thing, so I don't want to be redundant, but has contacted the bank about the closures of the lot? Because they have to contact the bank.
Right, they're working on it. I can't speak for the chamber. I just know from the short meeting that we had, they're actually going to meet with the city again on the first week of March, confirming that they've done what they needed to do with the additional notifications. So I'll stress that again to them about utilizing it. Now, since the bank is also closed on Saturdays, which makes it a little bit easier for the vendor setup. So,
All right,
but yes, they've been aware, they're aware of that.
well, just as long as if the bank could change its hours, like, you know, the day before and decide they want to start being open on Saturday. So I think that we just have to follow up with it.
Did that bank change that building? Wells Fargo changed the function of that building, did they not? I heard that. They're not really a walk-in bank, they're a financial center?
I was aware of.
That's what I heard.
It could be, they still have tellers in there, the last time, I was in there last week when
Okay.
they're still.
Maybe that's just
It's
calling
COVID.
it something
I think it's more
different.
COVID related as much as anything.
I'm sorry?
I think it's as much COVID related that they didn't have the main office open in general.
Well, I think some banks have, you know, over the
Yeah.
last 5, 6, 8 years have, you know, closed the traditional branch, walk-in, you know, brick and mortar service and converted more to financial support.
Yeah, they were closed down for
You
a
know,
couple,
like
they were closed down
analysis.
for 2 weeks, but they could not, they couldn't make the messaging, but it was because of the health risk that they had
Okay.
going there.
Okay,
But they're
thank you.
reopening again.
All right, are there any, Councilman Sanders, do you have anything to, comments or questions on this?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to act on that tonight, or do you want to push it to another meeting?
I actually think that there's enough here to push it to another meeting, to tell you the
I
truth.
may mention to them that I have to meet with the other emergency services, because I know there's gonna be concerns about these additional road closures. I said it might be pushed off to the next council meeting, and they were okay with that. They just wanted to make sure that you're aware of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like there's enough outstanding items here that I would rather just wait until we have a complete plan. So I think we'll do that if you don't mind. The second item on correspondence is the New Hope Lambertville Celebrate Diversity Freedom Love request for road closures for the annual NHC Pride Parade on Saturday, May 21st, 2022. Approval for a banner on hanging from April 25th to May 30th. Use of bathrooms at City Hall for parade marchers. Okay. We don't need to do anything on that.
Well, we do need a motion.
On the motion, okay,
Yeah.
so are there any questions about that?
Well, the only thing they have to really do is they have to get permission from the DOT to
Well,
put a
but we have
banner over
road
Third
closures.
Street, right?
But we have road closures. That's,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's the issue. That's what you're really approving.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Is there a motion to authorize this, please?
So moved.
Second, please?
Second?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Next on the list of correspondence, we had a letter from a gentleman called Andrew Hecht, who's a major cable network, who on behalf of a major cable network is looking for homeowners and general contractors for an exciting new home renovation series with a heart. So if anybody's interested in this, please contact me and I can put you in touch with Mr. Hecht.
Do the people that say yes, do they have to have a certain dish cleaner in the house?
I don't believe so.
What was the first reaction there? Thank you.
All right. The last item of correspondence is the New Hope Lambertville Celebrate Diversity Freedom Love. It's a request for consideration of rainbow crossings. So I've talked to the council on this matter. There are a number of kind of outstanding questions.
Did you say rainbow painted crosswalks? I mean, I would love to have a rainbow crossing myself, but
So what did I say? Did I
you did rainbow
misread it?
crossing, which to me,
Oh, well,
I
that's
just,
what it says on the thing.
Like somewhere
Rainbow
over the
crossing.
I
rainbow.
just had a really nice image in my
Like
head.
crawling over, yeah, like climbing up the rainbow.
Rainbow painted crosswalks.
Rainbow painted crosswalks. So there are some outstanding questions with this. I've got somebody checking with DOT, and I know the council has a few questions, so just bringing this to the public's attention, and we'll be talking about it and making a decision very soon.
Are there any questions that you have now that we can help with?
I'm sorry, we're gonna wait till public comment period, and then if you have a question, you can ask the question then. So can we just hang up for just a minute?
Sorry, I was representing New Hope Celebrates. I just thought, okay, questions for New Hope Celebrates, so we put it forth.
Okay. All right, we'll have announcements now. Council President Taylor and I and Emily Goldman will be hosting a couple of town halls on affordable housing. One coming this Monday, February 21st from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And then the second one will be Thursday, March 3rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It says it's at the Justice Center. Is that just online or is it?
No, it did say that, but I thought everybody's going to be here, but then I did put will be streamed live.
Right.
So it won't be both, it's just streamed live.
It's just streamed live, so we'll be hosting it from other locations. So the Zoom link is on the city website. This will be a two-series town hall where we review kind of affordable housing here in the city, kind of what we've gone through the last 10 years or so, and kind of where we are. We'll be seeking some input from the community on ideas, and we'll be ready to answer any questions. So please attend that if you can.
Just a question on if other council members want to also sign on. Is it a,
I didn't get a chance to follow up on this, but that's a great question. Can you just answer that for us, Bill, now?
Yes. So Cindy is going to notice these town halls, as long as we do that.
I have not, but I can.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Does he know? Never mind. As long as we notice them and they're open to the public, it should, anybody on the council.
okay.
Thank you. I meant to check in with you, Cindy. Bill sent me an email earlier about that.
That's okay.
So if we notice it, you have to do roll call and sort
That's
of like.
what I'm wondering, is it a meeting?
No,
So
as
do
long
I-
as it's open to the public, it's fine. And it's properly noticed. We don't have to go through the whole formal meeting process.
If no decisions are being taken, and they're not speaking, they're just there as listening in.
Right, as spectators.
This is more of a, you know,
We'll just notice
No.
it that council members will be present, so people know there'll be no decisions. I know what to do.
Oh, I know you know what to do, I'm more,
I know, it's just really
I
just
just have to push
because,
the boundaries sometimes.
yeah, it's just because you have a quorum present, and so you have to let the public know that the quorum will be present. That's really basically it.
Yeah,
it's more of a belt and suspenders approach than
Yeah.
anything else.
It's more what?
Belt and suspenders, going above and beyond.
Oh, okay.
I would never wear a belt and suspenders.
Well,
I
maybe
think in this instance,
Not a
it's
good
probably
look.
good for us to notice it. Yeah. All right, and holiday closures. Tomorrow, City Hall will be closed all day, and all other offices will close at 12:30. Monday, February 21st, City Hall offices will be closed for President's Day. At this point, I would like to invite the public to make comments or questions. Feel free to step up to the podium. We're going to ask that you keep to the 3-minute mark. State your name and address, and then proceed with your question or comment.
Yeah, Paul Stevens, 39 Quarry. Real quick, on these, the affordable housing town halls, are they gonna be the same presentations at both, or is, no, okay, so they'll be basically, it's worth going to both of them as opposed to just picking one?
Yes.
Okay. Then I have one, I was completely confused about the street cleaner thing based on Councilman Stegman's questions, and I'm going by the agenda that I picked up out there, so I don't know if it's the same one you guys have or not. But I thought the line through there meant that it was a change, it was no longer going to be on the list, but Councilman Stegman brought up that Stutterford Street wasn't going to be done, and Swan wasn't going to be done, and Stutterford doesn't have a line through it anywhere. Swan has a line through it from Highway 165 to Brunswick Ave, which is basically up the hill. On the other page, which is the Wednesday one, Swan from South Union up to 29 is still being done. So I'm kind of confused as to why Councilman Stedman saying that the way it read, Swan wasn't being done, and Stutterford wasn't being done. Am I reading this right?
If you look at, I don't have page numbers, but there's
Well,
a,
the page number's up in the corner up here, because that'll help, trust me.
Right, in the upper left.
And the
Oh,
other
sorry.
account, because I wanted to check and make
on
sure.
page 10,
Page 10?
where it says current ordinance, down halfway through the page, capital letters.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so right above there, it says removing the following streets.
Yeah, but if I look at with the lines drawn through them, for example, Swan's only partially removed, and that is up the hill. All right?
Because we do it down.
Yeah, right, you should, and, well, I don't know if you should or not, but that was his concern, is that it wasn't gonna be done because of the drains, and I'm saying it looks to me like it's still gonna be done.
He was talking about the hill. And so what we agreed to do is leave this as is for this year and then revisit it. Take a look at the drains
I thought he
here.
was talking about all of Swan, he said all of Swan was coming off, and that's the sign, that the part that's already signs and everything else, that's why I was confused.
Yeah, we were talking about the hill.
Good, okay, thanks.
Are there other members of the public present who wish to make a comment or ask a question?
Good evening, Evan White, 9 Arnett. For the affordable housing, are you guys going to record that and let
Yes.
people watch it? Oh, very good, that's my question, thanks.
Sure.
That's a question about, one of the questions that you answered, I didn't hear correctly. So the meetings are, we're presenting the same information?
No.
No.
So we're
Different
not.
information.
Two
So the thing is, you to sign
You
up
need
for
to go
both,
to both.
because you're
Yeah.
gonna miss one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The first one is more of a teach-in, really. I mean, Emily's got a deck, and she's gonna go through everything kind of to date that we've done and that we need to do. The second one will be a little bit, there'll be some of that as well. Yeah, Emily, yeah, thank you. If you could.
Yeah, so the first one's gonna really be like a summary of affordable housing in New Jersey, what it is, why we have to do it, and then everything the city has done from July 2015 with the submission of their declaratory judgment action through basically the December 16th council meeting. And then the second meeting is really gonna be summarizing the various compliance mechanisms that are available to municipalities to use, what compliance mechanisms are already in use in the city, and really open it up to the public to discuss kind of the various compliance mechanisms that they think are most suitable for the city to use moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to stress though that this is sort of both a short-term and the beginning of a short-term and long-term process, because as I think everyone's aware, we are in a very critical short-term period where we have to come up with new compliance mechanisms as a result of not moving forward with the police site project. And there's lots of creative ideas out there. Some of those just are not temporally or financially possible to include in the short term, so we want to start talking about the long term as well. So we don't want to shut down any of the conversation, but we also will be very honest about what's realistic for the immediate term, and then what can we think about for the longer term.
Anyone else in the room before we kick it over to the internet? Sir?
Okay, for Bart Thurber, please unmute and give your name and address.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bart Thurber, 53 Lambert Lane. And I have two questions. One, I have a considerable clarity from Emily's presentation and an understanding of the planning board's role in the cannabis retail approval process. So from a zoning perspective, I understand what their criteria are. And from the state, I understand how the state uses their criteria. What is unclear to me is what the criteria of the city council will be, because it's my understanding that it's absolutely required, as Emily pointed out as well, that there's a resolution of approval before the application goes to the state. So it's unclear to me whether this is just a rubber stamp, feeling that the planning and zoning has done their due diligence and therefore the city council will go ahead, or whether there are additional criteria. And then I do have one other quick question after that.
If you could ask the second question, please, Bart?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Andrew. I'm sorry, Mayor Norick. The second question is, in the application for the retail operation at 80 Lambert Lane, in which they indicate operating hours of 67 hours a week, compared to the brewery, by the way, that had 18 hours a week for its retail operation, they're indicating, in addition to 12 to 15 employees, that there may be the possibility of security personnel on site, parking lot attendants, and also specifically, they refer to the potential of police details, at least for a limited period of time. And I'm just unaware of whether, because federal law still bans marijuana sales, whether municipal police are allowed to be involved in a cannabis retail operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. What is the criteria for the city council?
Right, so the city council, the ordinance that was adopted in August does have specific information that needs to be submitted as part of the license to city council for review. That includes financial information, the security plan, ownership of the company information. There's a whole host of information that the council needs to receive that they review, whereas the board doesn't get the financial information or aspect of it to review.
So all of that same information is also submitted to the planning board, correct?
Not all of it. The planning board doesn't get the financial information on the company. They've received the security plans, but that really was more part of what was required to the council and not the planning boards, but we have received it for these applications.
Yeah.
Yeah, copies of the leases go to council. But again, with all of these applications, they submitted everything for all three approvals they need from the city, all to the construction office. So when things got divvied up, the board might have gotten stuff that they didn't need that was really meant just for council. So we're gonna have extra reviews of things.
Just a quick follow up, Emily, I'm sorry, is that I just want to let you know is that when Crystal rescanned everything, it's missing the first page of the community, 4 pages of the community impact. And the other thing is I didn't know whether a traffic study had been requested or will be a part of the presentation next week.
Traffic studies were not provided at this point. And, I guess that can be discussed at the planning board meeting.
Thanks. And just in terms, Emily, of the operating hours, I'm imagining everything that Bart's got here, the operating hours, the 12 to 15 employees, the security, the parking lot detail. I don't know anything about police detail. I'll let you field these points.
The ordinance has specific hours that the businesses are allowed to operate. So I will be very honest, I haven't actually completed my review memo of the applications yet. That's on my task of things to do tomorrow. But what we'll be looking at is making sure that they're complying with the hours of operation that we set in the ordinance. And we don't limit the number of employees that they're allowed to have. They're required to have security on site. They might be seeking the parking attendants, not sure quite how busy it's going to be to try to help flow. Again, it's for everybody. This is kind of a trial period since this is new to the state.
Okay, thank you, Emily.
Okay. Next is Gail Carabine. Is that how you pronounce it? I hope.
Yeah.
Please unmute and give us your name and address.
Hi, yes, that's it. I'm Gail Carabine, and my address is 255 North Main Street, Lambertville. And I guess my question, it's great that the Arnett Avenue Stormwater Conveyance Project is on the North Union side is being bid on today, and I guess it's approved. My question is about the North Main part of it, and when there isn't really there, we've been talking about a temporary repair. It's not really, there's no permanent sense of it. It keeps changing. What is the sense of the town council for the city council for having a permanent solution and moving this, reconstructing this culvert? And is there, I know that it's something that you would like to do. I'd like to know what the plan is, because this, it affects a wide area and it's something that needs to be fixed and it's been delayed maintenance for a long time. And the buildings on top of the hill, the Lambert Hill development came along and really increased the water. So it's a bad situation and I'm beginning to worry that nothing's going to happen about it. So I know Mr. Nowak has been really working hard and everything, but I'd like to know what's going on.
Sure, so, do you have any other questions, Gail, about it before I respond?
Well, it, I mean, we've been talking about like putting pipes in, like a 30-inch pipe, and then there's a roof, and now and then maybe nothing except just taking out trees and nothing else, and then so I just like, it keeps changing, and I'm not sure what the situation is.
Right.
And also, and we're talking about moving it off I know there's problems with money and moving it off the land edges because we're on the border and moving it off entirely. But, anyway, so I'd like to know what's going on.
Sure, so, I spoke to one of your neighbors this afternoon, and maybe you and I can have a conversation about this tomorrow. The city council is not specifically.
Okay, yeah, I know it's an influx. Okay, maybe, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so I'm happy to just talk for a second. I think that this continues to be kind of a fluid discussion. All of a sudden, I thought we had a plan. I thought we had some considerable input from the neighbors there. But why don't you and I talk tomorrow, if that's all right? What
that's
I think
fine.
I'd like to do, what I'd like to do possibly is schedule some time with the city engineer to meet with you and the neighbors to discuss
Right.
this a little bit more before we move forward. We're not removing any of the trees. We have a bid that we've got out at the moment, based on kind of the decision that was made in conjunction with resident input. But let me talk to you tomorrow if that's okay.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks
Sure
for your
thing, Gail.
Okay, Stephanie Moss, please unmute and give us your name and address.
Hi, Stephanie Moss, 12 Delavan Street. Just a quick question about the upcoming Shad Festival. Lieutenant Brown mentioned something and could have gotten it wrong, that they were looking to go from York Street all the way up to Delavan. My only concern with that is that now you're coming into the residential area of Shad Fest. We already are a block away from the central business district, and the increase in parking, et cetera, is a potential issue. So my only concern is to not go further than the central business district, but keep it down there. That's my only thought.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. The plan hasn't been finalized yet, and Lieutenant Brown is still in conversation with the chamber on this, so stay tuned, and I'm happy to follow up with you.
All right. Yeah, I was just concerned that that seemed to be an issue, and I wanted to voice my concern about that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Hugh Giordano, please unmute and give us your name and address.
Yes, my name is Hugh Giordano, 57 Argyle Avenue, Blackwood, New Jersey. Mayor and Council, I'm here today as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW. The UFCW is a national labor union of 1.3 million hardworking families. And I'm proud to say that we are the official labor union under the guise of the AFL-CIO that represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both in medical and adult use. We currently represent a wide majority of the medical cannabis workers here already in New Jersey and around the nation. And I wanted to speak in reference to some of the applicants that are applying today. I'm proud to announce that some of the applicants, such as Union Chill, will be entering into a labor peace agreement, which means that these jobs will provide good union wages, good benefits, sick time, vacation, major medical, training, and a safe working environment. These are middle-class careers that come with proper training and will be treated like any other trade within the union setting. I also want to say that some other cities and towns and boroughs have made it part of their priority, just as the state has. The state has put priority on social equity, veterans, women, that was talked about earlier, but they also put priority on labor standards. And folks that sign labor peace agreements get priority, and also folks that sign project labor agreements, which means that the retrofit and the build out of the facility is done using trades labor. We are working directly with our union brothers and sisters in the building trades, such as the IBEW, carpenters, steam fitters, to make sure that these facilities are built union too and provide good jobs. So I would like to say that the UFCW is very happy that you are supporting cannabis in the city, and we hope that you will in the future make it a preference point to have labor standards. The city of Bayonne has a model ordinance that they passed almost a year ago, which sets out labor standards. Highland Park, Montclair, all have those same labor standards that you get points and preference on a local level for having LPAs and project labor agreements as well. So we hope to see good jobs in the city. And we hope they're going to be good union jobs so that the people that live in the area have a good economic standing. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Okay. If there are no other members of the public for comment or questions, may I have to ask for a motion to close public comment? No? Okay. Then in that case, I will just ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight.
Thanks, everybody.